Whitey Herzog is carrying a hook with him. One walk and you're gone.
Well, he went much longer than Whitey had a right to expect and thought he would do, and it goes back. You can't catch a walk, and listen to this ovation as he walks off.
Greg Mathews, who only had 2 complete games this year, one of them a shutout, got his club into the 8th. A magnificent performance, and he has reason to grin, and out he goes. As Greg Mathews gives the ball to Todd Worrell. Mathews had a reputation of being a flake, kind of a guy who'd send his laundry out on a road trip and then move on home, park his car in the parking lot here, and then ask a teammate to give him a lift home. But boy, he can be as flaky as he wants pitching like that.
When you pitch like that, you're not flaky, you're eccentric.
Yes.
And what a contrast with Worrell coming in, who is strictly a power pitcher, fastball in the 90s, as opposed to what they've been looking at with Mathews.
Worrell with 33 saves, going head-to-head with Kevin Mitchell, who is 1 for 3. 1-2. Mitchell battling Todd Worrell. The difference, Worrell has made 2 pitches to Mitchell. One was 97 and the other is 96.
And I think with the wind of Mathews back, 87 was the highest.
Off the bag at first, Rob Thompson. High fly ball to right field. Kurt Ford is there. 2 down in the 8th inning. And the batter will be Jeffrey Leonard. With a right-hander on the mound, if Roger Craig decides to go to his bench, he has such left-hand hitters as Mike Aldretti, Harry Spillman, and Eddie Milner. But if he comes up with a left-hand hitter, all he has to do is look down in the bullpen, and Ken Daly is down there to try and check Craig's maneuvering. Against Philadelphia recently, when Ken Daly was pitching in relief, Worrell went into right field. Daly got his man, and then they brought Worrell back in, and he finished off the game. And Herzog, in a bind for pitching, could very well do something like that tonight. That's what Daly said. He said, "You know how I'm going?" He said, "I was relieved by the right fielder." But of course, the right fielder was Todd Worrell. 2-0 the count at Jeffrey Leonard. Flied to center, homered to center, flied to right. Foul back. 2-1.
He's just rearing back and throwing.
First 2 years in the big leagues, Todd Worrell, 30-plus saves in each year. He's the only Cardinal pitcher to ever record back-to-back 30-save seasons. When you realize he got 1 save in the first 29 games of the year and winds up with 33, he really came with a rush. Thompson at first, 2 down in the 8th, 5-2 St. Louis. John Tudor and Dave Drevecki tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. But after that, it's questionable as to just who will pitch Friday at Candlestick. Can Danny Cox come back? It will be Atlee Hammaker for San Francisco.
Whitey's looking at Friday for Danny Cox, the earliest.
2-2. He rolled it into right field. You talk about fighting off a good pitch. And Rob Thompson goes to third.
The tip-off on that was that Pena called fastball, and Worrell shook him off only because it was the location. He stayed with the fastball, got it inside, made a good pitch, and Leonard just swung late, hit it on the handle, and with Thompson staying on first base, there was a big gap there. I mean, he just fought that thing off, fisted it in the right field.
So now Candy Maldonado coming up, representing the tying run. And Candy, with 20 home runs and 85 RBIs during the regular year, is 0 for 3 tonight. Grounded to third, fly to center, and popped up.
It'll be strength against strength here.
2 out in the 8th inning, 5-2 St. Louis. At third base, Robbie Thompson and Jeff Leonard over at first. After Maldonado, Chili Davis. Now back. 0-1. There's Chili Davis waiting on deck. Don Robinson gets up and begins to loosen up in the Giant bullpen. Ken Daly has stopped throwing in the Cardinal pen. Throw to first, not in time.
It's always a good play. It cuts down the lead. You may get a chance to get him at third, but it also makes your ball club look good. That's not a set play. It's just a play that if he gets it and sees Dreesen's ready, he'll fire it.
And Greg Mathews, of course, knowing that one swing here and all of his good work could go down the drain. A drive into left center field, racing over is Coleman and McGee, and this one is up the alley, bouncing, and the fan catches it, which takes away a run. Jeff Leonard will be sent back to third on a ground rule double, and that's a tough break indeed for San Francisco. Leonard scores without a play, except the ball kangarooed up above that 10-foot high wall.
It's one of those rules that really penalizes the wrong people now, but the fan, when it bounces, grabs it, and I think he throws it back on the field, man.
It seems as if they have somewhat of a wire basket around the wall to try and prevent fans from interfering with the ball. It came very close to being touched on a triple by Ozzie Smith in the 4th inning, and now it becomes a monumental play. Watch the fan out there and watch the ball bounce now up, and they reach out and definitely touched it, even though the basket is there.
Oh, he was disgusted. Look at that. He threw it back. He did throw it back. He was really disgusted. But I bet the Giants are more disgusted with him.
Second and third, here's Chili Davis. It's 5-3 instead of 5-4. In other words, the tying run would be at second base with 2 out. But now you have Leonard at third and Maldonado at second. Cardinals 5, Giants 3 in the 8th. Chili Davis 0 for 3, struck out twice and grounded out. Those 3 at-bats, he was batting right-handed against left-handed Greg Mathews. 1-1. On deck, Will Clark. So a big at-bat for Chili Davis. Nice save by Pena. That could have gone to the backstop. So Leonard can't find a way to get home yet.
Easily gone to the backstop because Pena was actually set up on the outside part of the plate, and when you're going to miss, you better miss outside where your catcher is. Now look where he's set up, and I mean, he gets it way inside. That is really bad pitching. Good play by Pena.
So Pena saves a run. The fan saved a run. And the Cardinals are still leading 5-3, and Mathews is hoping somebody will save him. He's not responsible for a loss, but a win could go out the window. Fouled away. The deuce is wild to Chili Davis. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on, 1 in, and 2 runs separating the Cardinals and the Giants. And that was a 97-mile-an-hour hummer.
I was going to say, they've been 97, 96, 97, 96.6 or whatever. They all look the same after a while, Ben. You see what Mathews did, but Worrell is just rearing back and pumping.
Ball 3. So Worrell now is 1 pitch away from loading him up for Will Clark. And Mathews can just sit alongside Jack Clark and do what Jack has been doing. Wait. And that's ball 4 to load him up. That's enough to make Worrell eat his glove, and it's enough to break Greg Mathews' heart. He thought maybe, no. The inning's a long way from being over. Well, Ken Daly is throwing in the bullpen. Will Clark is going to be the take. So Mathews still goes out where he can win. But now Ken Daly picks up for Todd Worrell, who could lose. And in this battle with the game on the line between Daly, he of the bionic arm, he had the same operation that Tommy John had. Daly will go against Will Clark. And Will Clark, the Giant first baseman, hit .320 against left-hand pitching this year. So, I mean, we're in the high-rent district now. Will Clark, Ken Daly, and the game on the line.
They're playing him pretty much straight away, although he's got a big gap in left center field. And if he holds to what he said he would do against left-handers, he'd try from the middle to the left field line.
Clark is 1 for 3. 0-1. Clark was robbed of a hit by her, single grounded out. And Daly starts him with a rising fastball that was clocked at 92. Leonard at third, Maldonado at second, Davis at first, 2 out. A run taken away from the Giants as a fan went after a ball in play. 1-1. So instead of 5-4 St. Louis, it is 5-3, and Whitey's leading a charmed life, at least for the moment. And Rogers wondering when his luck's going to turn. Bob Forsch begins to throw in the Cardinal bullpen. Ball 2, and you can hear the groans. Oh, you talk about pressure.
Yeah, and I tell you, it begins and ends really with the plate umpire, John Kipper. He has to umpire that ball, but he knows how important this game is. And he's getting a little heat from the bench right now.
Somebody's touched a nerve, and the mask is off. Nick Leyva is hollering, standing alongside Whitey Herzog. The largest crowd to see any kind of event at Busch Stadium. And amongst the 55,000, this fan has had a great deal to do with the game. By interfering with that ball, it deprived the Giants of a run and has kept it a 2-run game instead of a 1-run game. There's one of the fellas who reached over and interfered with the ball in play. Right. You work all year with your pitchers and your infielders and your outfielders, and you try to cover everything, and then a fan sticks his finger in the pie. 1 ball, now 2. 2-1.
I never really could understand that rule, though, because it's the home park, and it punishes the visiting team.
Yeah, and how? Ball 3. They have a basket out there, a wire netting that runs the length of the top of the wall in left center to center to try and prevent a fan from leaning over and catching a ball. But as we have seen tonight, it did not prevent the fan from getting right out on with his hands over the netting. So 5-3 Cardinals, bottom of the 8th. Pendleton, Ford, and Pena, and Scott Garrelts, the third Giant pitcher. Ruschel, Lefferts, and now Garrelts. Got him. Pendleton caught looking. It's the second time he's gone down on strikes. The Cardinals, needless to say, do not see eye to eye with John Kibler's judgment. But the dugout would appear to be quiet for the moment. Boy, they were growling at him while Daly was pitching with the bases loaded. Kurt Ford flied to right, grounded to third, single. It was his single to right field that confused Willie McGee and irritated Nick Leyva. Bad hop, and Clark stays with it and flips to Gurrell. You talk about big league reflexes. Wow.
Boy, I remember Frank Crosetti, the great Yankee coach, always saying, hey, anybody can field a good hop. Show me the guy come up with the bad hop. You're going to see it right here. He saves a 2-base hit. Look at there. What reflexes.
And boy, that thing was ripped. So 2 down in the 8th inning. By the way, if you're not keeping score and you wonder about the Giants, Bob Brenly, Jose Uribe, and Gurrell Spot. And since you have left-hander Daly on the mound, that would seem to neutralize Spillman, Milner, and Aldretti, and mean that Melvin and the rookie Williams are the right-hand hitters available. Now back. Pena has singled and scored, walked and fouled out. He fouled out in a tough spot in the 6th inning with the bases loaded, only to get off the hook when Mathews came up and hit the little breaking ball into center field for a base hit and a couple of RBIs. 0-2. Two-score retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. Danny Cox, who was supposed to pitch tonight and couldn't, and gave way to Greg Mathews, who's been the big story of the night. The question now is whether Cox will be available to pitch for the Cardinals Friday night at Candlestick. We do know John Tudor goes tomorrow against Dave Dravecky. And we also know that Ken Daly will open up the 9th inning against Bob Brenly and Jose Uribe. And he's backed up in the Cardinal bullpen by right-hander Bob Forsch and left-hander Ricky Horton. 5-3 St. Louis in the 9th. Been a tough night for Brenly. It started out promising when he threw out Vince Coleman trying to steal. But with the bat, Brenly has struck out twice and flied out. Strike.
He's been behind the pitcher all night long. The pitchers have been getting ahead of him and making Brenly hit their pitch.
No balls, 1 strike. Foul off to the right and out of play, and the count 0-2. Full day tomorrow, remember. The National League at 3 p.m. Eastern. And Minnesota and Detroit in the American League tomorrow night. That would be 8 p.m. Eastern. 0-2 the count to Bob Brenly. Time tonight. So Bob Brenly is caught looking one away in the 9th inning, and that look tells it all. As slowly but surely we run out, we would like to thank a lot of folks. Executive producer of NBC Sports, Michael Weissman, the coordinating producer and director of tonight's game, Harry Coyle. Bob Brenly doesn't feel like thanking anybody. The producer of tonight's game, John J. Filippelli. The pregame producer, Steve Dance, and the pregame director, Richard Klein. And a reminder to stay tuned for local news at the conclusion of the ball game, and that's up the middle. So Uribe keeps the door open with a single to center, and Bob Melvin will come up and bat. They've already used Spire, so now Melvin.
You can see how important that interference call is. Now, not interference, but that ground rule double with the fan. 5-3 ball game. Tell you a difference if it's a 1-runner.
Oh, it's a killer. And of course, to take a point off the scoreboard is always bad news in any sport. Leonard walks in on the double by Maldonado, but is sent back and never scores. So it's 5-3 Cardinals in the 9th, 1 out. And here is Melvin. Strike. Melvin 1 for 8 as a pinch hitter, but hitting less than 200 for the year. And on deck, the leadoff man, Rob Thompson. 1 ball, 1 strike.
They really don't expect, as we look at Roger Craig, Melvin to pull Daly. McGee is really in right center field. There's a big gap in left center field. That tells you what they think of Daly's stuff. Ground ball hard to short. Ozzie Smith to Tommy Hurt to Dreesen, dug it out.
Cardinals, who appeared so downcast over the loss of their starting pitcher, over the loss of Jack Clark. And the Giants, who had to come in here feeling confident, and it is the Cardinals, 5 runs, 10 hits, and 1 error. And the Giants, 3 runs, 7 hits, and 1 error. And somewhere in left center field, there is a fan who had a great deal to do with the outcome of the ball game. Tonight's NBC Miller Lite Player of the Game has to be pitcher Greg Mathews. Miller Lite happy to present a check for $1,000 in the name of Greg Mathews to the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. And what a lift he gave the Cardinals.
Yes, he did. And give Whitey Herzog some credit.
He's Greg Mathews the winner, Rick Rushell the loser, the game-winning RBI given to Terry Pendleton, and a save given to left-hander Ken Daly. As the Giants led a couple of times, each time the Cardinals came back to tie, and then the 3 runs in the 6th inning broke